Welcome to episode 135 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. I realize that it seems like way too much is going on right now. We are still in a pandemic with numbers rising with the latest variant. We have had another massacre of school children by a young man with an assault weapon. We have an extremely ugly war going on in Ukraine, and companies, especially oil companies, have decided to engage in heinous price gouging. We are seeing the rise of a Christo-fascist movement that seeks to allow the relatively small sect of extremist Christians to impose their will on us all. We survived the previous presidency, which was marked by hatred, cruelty, corruption, and greed, only to see his faithful become even more unhinged and bloodthirsty. Of course, even while these events are taking place, each and every person is still dealing with the normal challenges of daily life. Everyone still has issues at work. They still have issues in their personal relationships. None of the new problems have taken away any of the old problems. Life still has the same difficult issues it possessed prior to everything seemingly going off the rails. It's just that everything has been ratcheted up by the latest events. No one has been able to return to any sort of sense of normalcy, which is destabilizing. It is clear that we are never going back to the way it was, which is a good thing in some ways, and hard to accept in others. It is so much at one time. But I think it may be time to recalibrate. My father was a pandemic baby. He was born in 1918. He survived that and went on to some life-altering changes during the Great Depression. He survived that too. Then he went on to fight in World War II, where he built bridges for troops to cross while being shot at. His best friend, who he fought side by side with, died in his arms. These are three historical catastrophes that my father experienced in his youth. After the war, he met his wife, started a family of 6 children, and he lived a very full life. He survived all of those challenges. Here's the part that I find fascinating. My dad and I had countless conversations while I was growing up and after I became an adult. He never spoke of the 1918 pandemic. He never spoke of the Great Depression and the changes that brought to his life. He never spoke of World War II. None of the challenges that we would have described as devastating were even worth a mention later in life. Honestly, he could have spent his entire life complaining about what he had had to go through, but to him, the challenges weren't even worth mentioning. He cared about his family. He cared about his work. He cared about all the books he checked out of the library each and every week. That is where his focus was. He never complained about what he went through to reach the stage in his life where he was able to enjoy his everyday existence. He just kept loving his people. He kept engaging us in kitchen table discussions about the meaning of life. He kept planting gardens and expanding his understanding of the world around him. He was a wonderful father, though his father could not be described that way. He was a wonderful husband, though he had never witnessed that in his family of origin. He took great pride in his work, though it wasn't what he had originally envisioned for himself. He made many moves and changed careers multiple times still single-handedly supported all 8 of us. And he was a happy man. He was a wise man, the wisest I have ever known. It makes me think that we might attach too much negativity to what we go through. In seeing everything in the worst light and seeing every bump in the road as one that may completely derail us, we zoom our life lens in too closely. In doing so, we may be missing the bigger picture. We are the only ones who get to attach meaning to what we go through in life. We decide if it is a huge deal or just part of a long, wide, fascinating journey. Only we can drive ourselves crazy by living in the delusion that nothing bad should ever happen to us. The question is, will we be able to live lives that are full and meaningful even though there is so much chaos in the world right now? Will we recalibrate our expectations and find ways to express love and joy and appreciate all the beauty that surrounds us, even if the world is going mad? It's a wild ride because we can't ignore it. We can't pretend this isn't all going on. We need to do whatever we can to bring things back into a better alignment. But at the same time, we have to focus our energy and attention on the things that make our lives worth living. We need to make sure that we are offering all the love and support we can to those who mean the most to us. We need to continue to do meaningful work. We need to save space for all of the magic and wonder that is right in front of us each and every day. We are going to get through all of this, one way or another. It may go the way we would like, or it may not. We don't yet know if the good guys or the bad guys will prevail. But no matter how it goes, we need to make the most of our time here. We can either allow these challenges to define us or to refine us. That choice is ours to make. It may feel like we are cursed by all the madness and chaos, but we are even more blessed by all the love and beauty and possibilities. Keep tapping into that which makes you shine. One of the challenges I have mentioned is the rise in Christofascism. What exactly is that? It is the lethal combination of Christianity and fascism. It is the attempt to make an ultra-conservative view of Christianity, one that is based more in punishment and control than any actual saying of Christ, the law of the land. I was watching a video of a woman who is running to become a state representative in Michigan. She stated that we cannot have a successful society outside of what she calls the Christian moral order. She feels that abortion and gay marriage lead to chaos and destruction and a culture of death. She feels the same about contraceptives. She feels that sex should be between one man and one woman within the confines of marriage and always open to life. She would vote to make birth control illegal, along with abortion and gay marriage. Her candidacy is boosted by being backed by the previous president. We know that the Supreme Court, with 3 right-wing justices who basically lied about their position on Roe v. Wade to be seated, are prepared to overturn that ruling in the near future. What we are not paying attention to is how far their end game will go. This is not just about abortion. This is a plan to roll us back into the dark ages and make the most extreme views of the far right the law of the land. It is interesting to me that those with the most extreme views never seem to be able to stop at applying those standards to their own lives. Somehow they feel the need to make everyone do what they do, which is always the mark of those at the lowest levels of spiritual awareness. If you are at the lower levels, you believe that if you could just make everyone do what you think they should, everything would be just fine. As you reach the higher levels, you realize that you can only control the choices you make. You no longer want to have control over everyone else. I spend a good amount of my time watching old movies. I'm particularly drawn to the movies of the 40s. I have immersed myself in a timeline where women had no control over their bodies, no economic opportunities, where anyone who was not straight and white was ostracized and mistreated. Pregnancy could not be avoided since there was no birth control, so people got married after they had known each other a couple of weeks, if not a couple of days. The society used shame to keep people from falling outside these norms. If women married a terrible man, tough luck. You were stuck with them for the rest of your days because the culture would shun anyone who dared to end a marriage. The control over people was harsh, and it was unbending. That was something that the human race apparently needed to go through as society was taking shape. But we are so far past that way of thinking now that I can't imagine how modern-day women and men would adjust to going back to those times if the far right gets its way. I know that modern women are furious at the suggestion that they will lose rights that were hard-won by their mothers and grandmothers. I wonder how modern men would feel about sex being limited to marriage and every occurrence possibly resulting in another child. Are they ready to marry and support a woman and big family because that is the only way they can have sex? Would the prospect of this becoming the law make them wake up to this vision that the right is pursuing? We have two very different visions of where this country should go. One is to take us back to a time when the government and the nosiest neighbor on your block were involved in the choices you made in your life. This vision involves making their extreme religious beliefs the one and only way to live. It is an attempt to force women to produce a bunch of white babies at any cost so they don't have to deal with the browning of America. We also see that they have no concern over the continuing heartbreaking massacres that are occurring, because at the very same time that these massacres are occurring, they are passing laws to make possession of weapons even easier. The other vision is to empower people to be who they are and to make their own choices, as long as they don't harm other living beings. This vision more heavily favors acceptance and inclusion. It also makes the effort to protect us from those who mean to do us harm. I'm very guilty of dismissing the rantings of those who are on the radical right because I can't imagine a country in which their vision could come true. I've been wrong about this, very wrong. That which seems patently insane is now becoming the commonplace, and it is becoming law. There are people who have been installed in every level of government who believe in this Christo-fascist dream. They think that we will be saved if everyone is forced to swear their allegiance to their vision of who God is. There is a struggle between good and evil right now, and those on either side are equally committed to the idea that their side is the good and the other side is the evil. So the question remains, if they get their way, are we ready to roll everything back to the 40s? Can we agree to go back to a place where only straight white men have all the power? Are we ready to dismiss the rights of everyone who isn't a straight white man? Are straight white men ready to go back to a time when they had all the power and all the financial responsibility for women and children? Right now we live in a time when it is virtually impossible for any family to make it on one income. That ship has sailed. The cost of living no longer allows for a one-income family. The house my parents bought when I was a child cost approximately $5,000 more than my father's annual income at the time he bought it. The house cost $20,000. That same house is now valued between $1.7 and $1.8 million. The very same house, which was built in 1961, which makes it 61 years old. This is your basic tract home. If he were to buy it today, he would need an annual income over $2 million for all things to be equal. If you made over $2 million a year, why would you be buying a 60-year-old tract home? This is how far we are today from where we were when I was a child and a one-income home was more the norm. We don't live in that world anymore. And we don't live in a world where people who have been making their own choices and coming into their own personal power, even though they are not straight white men, are looking to roll it all backwards to a time when they had no voice and no equality in the world around them. We aren't here to roll things back. We are here to expand and learn and grow into fully realized human beings. We are here to put together the life that we want and to choose whether or not we want organized religion to have any say over our choices. We will have to decide if we want there to be separation between church and state. We haven't struggled this hard and come this far to be told that we have to return to a time that no longer exists. Thanks for returning for another week of Rebirth Revolution. I hope you know that the struggles you have endured and the sacrifices you have made, they mean something. You are growing and stretching, and you are envisioning a life that is even better than what you have now. You can always let me know how you are feeling about all of that by emailing me at rebirthrev@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Rebirth Revolution can be found on all the podcast apps, the music apps, and full episodes play on YouTube and our Facebook page. Please rate, subscribe, download, and share whenever possible. Until next week, keep moving in a forward direction. Pay attention to those who wish to thwart your progress. Stick with your COVID precautions and pray for the devastated families who have lost their children. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Stay strong and safe and ready to fight.